Good evening. This is Dr. Verdiales from the Georgia office. Um, First of all, I hope that you are all ready for the end of year season. Whether you're celebrating Hanukkah or Christmas or simply end of the year, I hope you were able to take a few days to relax, think about what 2022 brought in your life, your personal growth milestones and accomplishments, and what are your intentions for 2023. Um, Today, I'm not going to necessarily grab a subject and go with it. I'm going to let you guys lead. I will share that my book, The Healing Circle, it's already available for purchase. This was a long project, a few years in the making. Even though it's not very thick, it's very heavy. It is a story, it's a personal story with some interesting conclusions because at the end, we're all spiritual beings having a human experience and we are all in this together in this lifetime. God has allowed me to be the person that I am, Maribel, born in Puerto Rico, and who at this moment is a doctor, serving you, mostly women and fertility patients. But that's just a role, that's just a character in the play of life. So, and a lot of times, like I describe in the books, it is it's a healing circle, meaning sometimes the patient becomes the healer and the healer becomes the patient and vice versa. So I wanted to share that with you. For those of you that are interested, I'll show it to you again. It is the healing circle. Okay. And you can go to Mary Belverdiale's website and grab, order a copy, or if you are in the neighborhood of the Monroe, Atlanta office, go ahead and come in and grab one. And hopefully it is helpful. Um, so I will say that there were a few interesting cases this week. I will start with that, but you can definitely jump in and ask your questions. Um, One of the cases that I saw today, it is a 52-year-old, and she's been through a journey. She is using donor eggs, but she keeps making polyps. And the question is, why they keep coming up. So, what is a polyp? It is an overgrowth of the endometrium, that is the lining of the uterus, just like you have a skin tag, and it is a sign of inflammation. You can see more of that type of growth in insulin resistant and chronic inflammatory processes. You can find polyps in different places in your body, and the uterus is not an exception. So we are working with her. She had a polypectomy about a year and a half ago, and due to personal reasons, decided to take a break. And then she came back today for her saline, and realized that she has three polyps at the time. And so that was one of her questions. Why are these things keep happening to me? Because she had a polypectomy, like I said, a year and a half ago, and she had a polypectomy about 3 years ago, give or take. So, like I was saying, there are a lot more common in insulin resistant PCOS type of patients. In her case, I think that it's just an inflammatory process. She does have multiple fibroids. Fibroids are, again, another symbol, another sign of inflammation in the pelvis, in the muscle of the uterus. So, you know, she has another polyp that needs to be addressed. Um, Another interesting case is a case of silent endometriosis. I know that it is a big thing out there, where um, She has no symptoms. The only thing is that she had primary infertility. What does that mean? That means that she has never been pregnant in her life, and she has been going through IVF. She had a miscarriage and then unsuccessful transfers. And her SSG showed bilateral tubal occlusion, which means blocked tubes. And we did laparoscopy, removed her tubes to improve her IVF outcomes, and we did find endometriosis in her pelvis without symptoms. So if you are out there and you have blocked tubes for no reason, for example, decreased ovarian reserve for no apparent reason, and failed implantation, transfers, and so forth, you should definitely consider a laparoscopy to check for possible endometriosis. Okay, well, I hope that you all have an amazing Christmas. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, may you all be very blessed. If you need to reach out to me, feel free. This is Dr. Verdiales from the Georgia office. Many blessings. Bye-bye. Okay, I have a question. What supplements do you recommend? I like doing food-based supplements. I use different lines. I am a naturopath, so I'm not an expert. I mean, there's like the natural, fertility. I'm sorry, the natural naturopathic supplement world is huge, is massive. I have learned to love a few different companies through the years. Um, and I like a company called, my favorite company is called Standard Process. I use Nutritional Frontiers. I use a few of Garden of Life, systemic formulas. So I recommend food-based prenatal. There are different companies that do it. The one that I have in the office is Nutritional Frontiers, and a lot of glandular therapy. So, kind of little bits of ovary and thyroid, et cetera, et cetera. Omega-3, primrose oil, currant seed oil. I have a pack at the office called the Female Endocrine Pack, and it has like little bits of hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, adrenal, and ovary. So what happens is when you feed the body tiny pieces of the gland, not only are you helping in terms of the nutritional needs of that gland, but also you're downgrading the potential subclinical autoimmune reaction. Okay, so if your body is somehow attacking the organ because it's a little sick and weak, it protects the organ from further attack and allows it to heal. Okay. Is it possible to get pregnant at the age of 42 or 43? Yes, absolutely. Actually, I've seen people. My oldest patient getting pregnant with her own eggs is 46, but I am dying and putting it out there to the universe to see somebody older getting pregnant with their own eggs. Okay. It is very important for those of you out there in the 40 plus fabulous and fertile group to understand that what used to be a lot easier in your 20s, it's going to be a little harder in your 40s, but it's not going to be impossible. Your biological reserve has decreased. There are many things that you can do to help with that, including PRP, ACG priming, human growth hormone, supplements, low carb keto diet, and stem cell therapy. I'm actually going to head down to Mexico and try some of that myself, so I'll keep you posted on it. Do you all do Pixie or just ICSI? We do ICSI at the moment. Even though I did have a beautiful 42-year-old that was telling me, in her case, it is an age-related fertility factor. There's no male component, and she did better just with traditional IVF than with ICSI. Allowing the sperm to penetrate naturally gave her more and better quality embryos. So a lot of the interventions that we do, sometimes they just might be unnecessary. So it's kind of give or take. My friend's mom got pregnant at 52 with her own eggs. Hallelujah. I remember I was a young OBGYN. It was a year after I finished residency, and I did take care of a lady at the age of 50 who got pregnant on her own, and totally unexpected. She came to me because she thought she had a stomach flu. She said, I don't feel good. Just my stomach is kind of weird and I'm nauseous and I just don't know what's wrong with me. Well, she was 16 weeks pregnant. That was the problem that she was having. So the stomach flu was that she was pregnant, and she had a 28-year-old son, and she used to tell me that she would go out with her son, her 28-year-old son, and she didn't dye her hair, so she used her hair gray at 50. And people would give her the stink eye because she thought that she was a cougar. Sorry. And that her son, her 28-year-old son, they thought that that was the dad of the baby. And I will always remember her because I was just out of school and she's like, I don't know how this happened. And she ended up having a beautiful little girl at the age of 51, and it was spontaneous. So um, it is possible. I believe that anything is possible if you believe. So yes. What happens in our beautiful group of 40 plus is that it's just a little harder. You're going to have more miscarriages. You're going to have, you're going to have to work a little harder at it. You're going to have to take care of your diet and potentially supplement with everything that helps those eggs be a little better. But it is so doable. It is so doable. Okay. Can an AMH of 0.8 good for IVF? Yeah, of course. I have right now a 40-year-old, fighting through life. She has endometriosis, and she had her AMH is 0.3. So zero point 0.8 is definitely good. Now, when you have low ovarian reserve, you have to understand that you might have to do it a little more because you're not going to make as many eggs. So with 0.8, you're going to make maybe 2 to 3 embryos every round. All right. Now, if you haven't done any priming, you might be able to get that number up. I've seen it all the time. Right now, I'm working with a 48-year-old that she started about 2 years ago with 0 0.8, and because of all the interventions she has done, including intra-ovarian PRP 3 times at times of retrieval, her AMH is 1.6 at 48 right now. She is one of my heroes. At 42, would you advise to prepare with supplements and diet before going for IVF, or go right in? Oh, totally prepare. I'm all about, you have to understand that you are all fertility athletes. Okay. You would not go into the Olympics without getting ready, right? So IVF is like you're putting a lot of energy, money, and effort into it. So why don't you get ready for it, so you have the best outcome on the first round? Now, if you decide to jump into it right away, that first IVF will be kind of preparation. So it'll be a warm up, but it won't be your best IVF ever. That's all. So I usually recommend to do 1 to 3 months of priming prior to going into IVF. 3 would be ideal, okay? and eliminate grains, decrease, obviously get rid of all processed foods, sodas, etc. Eliminate as much carbs as possible. If you're going to have carbs, I'd rather you have roots, sweet potatoes. Occasional rice from the grains is one of the less evil ones, but it'll be kind of more like a treat than anything else. A lot of greens in the plate. Oh yeah, roots are carrots are also roots. Turnips, you can have some of that as well. In the Caribbean, we eat a lot of roots. So anyway, you got the picture. Um, what else? You, depending on the scenario, you can do human growth hormone or ACG priming or both, depending on your particular scenario. PRP, it's huge, intraovarian, high volume. And then like I was telling you, the new frontier is stem cell therapy, exosomes, and peptide IV infusions that I am super excited to go try myself in January. So if any of you out there is very interested and curious, just send me a message to Messenger, okay? Just write me. Okay, what else? Platelet-rich plasma. So platelet-rich plasma is the healing proteins in your blood. Think of PRP as a beacon, okay, as like a signal, toot, toot, toot. And then you're going to inject it where you want accelerated healing to direct your own body to go heal that area. So I've used PRP for over 10 years. I have a lot of experience in different parts of the body. It is amazing what it can do. In my experience, it always helps. What varies patient to patient is the degree of help. Sometimes it's a little help and sometimes it can be super dramatic. All right. For example, I've had patients that have done hair PRP for hair loss, for alopecia, and they will have a dramatic effect on one PRP. And then I have patients that need 3 to 6 PRP for them to see a significant change. Okay. Same thing with ovarian reserve. I've had patients that will do it, and next thing you know, they're pregnant. And I've had patients that have to do it multiple times to see a significant response. The difference between PRP and, for example, the stem cell therapy is that the PRP is really dead. It's just the signal, more or less. While when you do stem cells, they're alive. So it's like putting the fixing cells in the area. So it's like, PRP on crack, right? Because PRP is just a beacon. It just redirects your immune system and your body, telling it, we need to heal here. We need to heal here. While when you do stem cell therapy, then you're actually sending the healing cells directly to that site. I'm new at this. At the age of 40, do you encourage more intercourse daily? What other things? At the age of 40, we have to make sure everything is working. Tubes open, no male factor, and see how your ovarian reserve is. If you're handling a normal ovarian reserve and there's no male factors and your tubes are open, you should have sex every other day. Sex every day, it's not that it's not going to work, but you're not allowing the testicles to build up the boys. And so you're going to end up with a lot more immature spermatocytes. And then those are not going to be useful to you. How many days does it take a day 3 embryo to implants? Intralipids are good for transferring. If you use them before, they will help decrease natural killer cells and with inflammation and any potential autoimmunity, even if it's subclinical. So, and then in terms of the day 3 implant, When you have a transfer, whether it's day 5 or day 3, implantation occurs in the first 12 hours. So this is my opinion, right? I recommend people to linger in their transfer site until the next day, so they don't have to kind of, travel or get on an airplane the first 12 hours after transfer. But that is my opinion. I know that some of you get on the airplane right away or travel and still get pregnant, but I think the first 12 hours after an embryo transfer are the more crucial ones. After that, it's just a waiting game. Either it did implant or it didn't. Um, the difference is a day 3 embryo. I like to describe it as a preemie baby, right? It's almost cooked. A day 5 to day 7 embryo is a full term baby, the equivalent. So a day 3 embryo just has to adjust and has to implant right away, because if they don't implant it within that first 12 hours, they're not going to implant at all. Or if they do, they become a biochemical or an early miscarriage, but they did try to implant though, and they have to implant in that 12-hour window. I have 7 weeks. Okay, let's see. So you're supposed to be 7 weeks, but your baby is measuring less. You just have to kind of wait it out. I usually say that the pregnancy will declare itself. Whether it's going to survive and make it, it's going to declare itself, and whether it's not going to survive, it's going to declare itself. And so the first few weeks after the transfer or after getting pregnant, period, is a waiting game. It doesn't matter how you're waiting, whether you got pregnant spontaneously or whether you are trying to get pregnant with IVF. There's no way around the waiting time, okay? All right. Okay, so I've had 3 failed transfers and none worked. So when you have 3 failed transfers, you have to go back to the drawing board and see, okay, are we missing something? One, is there a progesterone exposure issue? And that's where an ERA might help. Are we dealing with chronic infection and treatment and or culture might help? How about, what I was mentioning earlier with the silent endometriosis? So you really want to just stop and try to figure out what else can be done. And yes, are we dealing with an immunological issue, a rejection issue? Do we need to, get more aggressive with the immune protocol? I agree. All right, everyone. So I ended up talking a little more than I thought I was going to, but always a pleasure. Um, and if any of you have specific questions about anything that we've discussed today, feel free to message me through Messenger. My name is Maribel Verdiales. I do have a Facebook page for all of you for clinical questions. If you have a scheduling issue, please just call the office. Now, if you can't find the office, feel free to reach out and I will pass on your message. And I will answer. I will answer one more question and then we'll be done for tonight. Fresh or frozen embryos, it depends on the scenario. Older women do better with fresh. Younger women that make a lot of eggs do better with frozen. And the reason is older women make less eggs, which are more frail, not necessarily abnormal, just more frail. Younger women make more eggs. And so imagine if you are 45, for example, and they retrieved 4 eggs. Those are 4 holes in the ovaries, right? 2 on each side, for example. And then you are 30 and they took out 20 eggs. Those are 20 holes in your ovaries. So imagine all those puncture sites, bleeding a few drops, being inflamed and angry. That is not a pelvis conducive to a pregnancy. It'll be all like sore and inflamed. And those eggs are going to be more resilient so they can handle being frozen, all right, once they're embryos. While your 45-year-old eggs, a few punctures on the ovaries, not too bad. That pelvis is not that inflamed. And then you add the factor that there are 44, 35-year-old eggs that the best thing is to take, be the least amount of time outside of your body and the least amount of exposure to cold and warm and, temperature changes. All right. So this is it for real. Tons of love for all of you. Again, if you have any questions, feel free. If you have any questions about any of the subjects that we discussed today or your personal scenario, feel free to reach out. I am in the Atlanta office and the phone number is 770-266-3930, or you can message me through Messenger at Maribel Verdiales MD. All right. Merry Christmas. Many blessings. I shall see you next week. Bye-bye.